I might join you tomorrow. Hi, ladies. How are you? I'm really excited. Thank you for coming post food coma. I want to do a quick round of hands up. Who here has a son? Put your hand up. Yoo-hoo, boy moms. Who here has girls? Put your hand up. Okay, wow, it's a 50-50. Who has boys and girls? Who has only girls? Yeah, the minority. Typical. Who has only boys? Okay. So most of you have like one of each. Okay, cool. I would have catered this a bit more to girls because I have so much data on the girl stuff, but it's okay. I'll do a combination of both. Well, welcome to probably the funnest session of your day. Thank you for coming. I'm very, very excited to be here. I have to admit something. ChatGPT created this whole presentation, and it created, or AI did, and AI created my speech. So I'll be going back and forth between my own personal stories and trying to cover some notes for you. So, what? Who's this? I'm not here to talk about okay, is it after this session? Are you in trouble? Let me do a quick intro about myself. My name is Wafa AlObaidat. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Till they find my presentation, I run 2 companies. Both have about 30 to 40 employees each. I get 2 salaries. It took me about 15 years to design my organizations and my career for it to be this way. And I've won the lottery, in my opinion, not because of the organizations or because of the double salary. I have the biggest gift, which is the gift of time. And I get to choose where I put my time, which is, to me, the largest currency for success. I get to choose what projects I get to work on. And I get to work from home and be close to my 2 boys as well, which is really important. And I wish I could say that I'm a genius and I found this out on my own, but I am basically a watered version of my mother. So everything that Dima has graciously invited me today to come and share my story is to basically share her playbook to how she built me for the outcome in my career. And I'm going to try to share the playbook to that today. And there is a lot of pressure. I was just talking to Sarah and someone was like, your session made me cry. And I'm like, there's just a lot of pressure. So I'm just going to try to share as many stories and strategies as possible and get you to walk away with different ideas on how you can create mini entrepreneurs or the next wave of Arab young entrepreneurs. Now, my first organization is a traditional business. I run a PR and communications firm. I've built that over 15 years and I realize I hate it, as in it doesn't give me the joy that it used to. And I started another company, which is a women's network, and it's a venture-backed organization. And that's really interesting to me because I have had to fundraise about $1.5 million USD to build this business. And in my first organization, it took me 15 years to cross $1 million in revenue. Now, that might not sound like it's a big deal, but only 4% of companies globally cross the $1 million threshold. And then I built a technology business, and I was able to cross the $1 million mark in 2 years by giving up more equity. Now, this is really fascinating, but for anyone who has girls, only 2% of VC funding goes to girls. Right? So this is even harder for women to start and scale organizations. Now, I do have a point. This is just all the data on Playbook, which is my organization, and this is more about Playbook. I run it with 2 incredible female founders, so we're a fully female-founded team, lots of Fs in there, and we run a award-winning team across 3 different countries. Now, I'll get into more details about Playbook shortly. But yeah, let me just go straight to the good stuff. Okay. So who here wants their kids to become an entrepreneur? Put your hands up. Woohoo, yes. Okay, so I'll start with kind of the trigger that got me to think that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it happened when I was 9 years old. And my mother came home from work one day, so she's an ex-banker, or a former banker. She's retired now. And she was furious because her boss had told her that she couldn't take the requested leave days that she wanted. So she comes in and she's like, don't ever work for anybody that can control how many days you can take off in a year. And she walks off, very dramatic. And now when I tell her the story, she's like, I don't remember ever doing that. And I'm like, you traumatized, that was traumatizing. So at that age, I was like, I never want to work for anybody that can decide where my time can go. That was like a hidden traumatic experience that's obviously manifested into, I've always known I wanted to be an entrepreneur at that early age. So like, how do I work for myself was the intention. And when people go up to my parents today and they're like, "Afi ala binitkum," or "well done on your daughter," which by the way is the currency to what success is to our parents. I'm like, let alone what I'm doing. But when their friends go to them and they say, "well done," they're like, "we really feel like like this is success." My mom says something really powerful, which she says this is by design. So there are certain things my mother did when I was quite young that she didn't do to my brothers, by the way, so I'm the only entrepreneur in the family. But she planted these seeds, and I feel like there are levels, so we're going to start unlocking some levels. And some of them might sound a little bit maybe premature, but I just, bear with me because we are going to kind of layer it up as we go along. Very early on, and the result of some of these unlocking or these levels was the fact that I really felt very different from my friends. This was a big thing for me. I felt a little bit isolated because of how I was designed differently, and I had a different thinking process. But from a very young age, my mother spent a lot of time daydreaming with me. Now, this was very powerful because daydreaming is not like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was more about like, what do you want to build? What impact do you want to have? So at the ages of 9, 10, 11, I was getting these questions, and my mother would hold back and restrain. So I would have a few minutes to think. And then I would say something and she would say, "Oh, that's amazing. Can you expand on that? Can it go bigger? Like, how far can this," like, basically prompting. Now with ChatGPT, that's obviously famous. But at that time, she was prompting these questions that got me to expand my thinking. And then she would always drop anything you touch will turn into gold. So plus the expansion of ideas, it was the belief that I was actually quite magical and anything I put my mind to would happen. So these positive affirmations was a broken record. And I think, to me, that's the foundation. That's level number one as an entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, you're trying to build things that don't exist. You're going to try to build things and people are going to tell you it's not going to work. So what you originally need is that insane self-belief. Now, what's crazy is, as a parent, when you are programming your kids to believe in themselves, when you remove the parent from the equation, the record keeps playing. So my challenge as a young, not as a young woman now, but like growing up as a young woman, a lot of the people around me had very negative limited beliefs. Let me tell you why I can't do something. Let me tell you why I need a job. It was constantly affirmations of limited beliefs and lack of abundance. On the contrary, I was like, of course you can. Anything you touch will turn into gold. And to me, that was the broken record playing in my head. So remove the parents from the equation. I had a broken record that, by the way, is still playing in my head now. Like, this is going to be the best session of the day. These women are going to love it. So my own cheerleader is playing. Now, when you start a company, I'm not looking for someone to validate my ideas. They're validated. It's here. The broken record is here. So I think the question is, how often are you playing that broken record? How consistent are you with that broken record? Which is, you are absolutely incredible. You can be an entrepreneur. You are in control of your own time and feelings. And not your feelings, but your destiny. So this happened from the ages of 9 till 21. My mother is still my best friend, but at that time she was more of a manager role. And then I always say you graduated into an advisor role because the record is playing. I need you as an advisor, not so much as a manager. So the positive affirmations was huge at a young age. It really makes you feel like you can walk on water, which is powerful when you start an organization. So level 1. Level 2, we covered really building that self-confidence, self-belief, which is insane when you are trying to build things that don't exist, or you're trying to sell a vision to somebody. You're like, of course I'll get it done. That's anything I build will be able to be completed. Now that self-belief transcends when you speak to a corporate client or an investor. you're just a person with a pitch deck. Why are they going to invest in you? But that self-belief is what gets people to believe in you. So it starts at the home. Now, ironically, my mom was on one side of the spectrum, like insane self-belief, super entrepreneurial, though she also never had that exposure. I think, obviously the corporate world traumatized her to no end. On the other end of the spectrum, you have my dad. My dad is, like I always say, I have yin and yang, black and white. My dad is like, you're going to fail. My dad's like, get a job. My father is like, don't take risks. My dad is like, do everything slowly. My dad is like, patience. Oh, patience. If I hear someone say, be patient, one more time. So I had both ends of the spectrum. Now, in a way that when I was a child, that was quite dreadful, right? To have a father that was so tough or strict, and then equally have on the other side somebody so incredibly supportive and like the ultimate cheerleader. But it gave me grit. So my father to me represents society, that uncle, that aunt, maybe both parents, one parent that's like, you can't do this, take it easy, do things slowly, one step at a time, have a plan. When on the other end, I would be a dreamer. So I always used to tell people, like my dad used to break me, my mom glues me. And that's also where grit comes from. So if you feel like either you're closer to one end of that parent, hopefully the other parent can, and it creates grit. It's okay, you both don't have to be super supportive. As long as one of you or someone in the family is that, you've got this, like, let's dream and how are you gonna make this happen? What do you need from me? Let me help you out. You know what I mean? Number two, let's add another layer to that. So let's say everybody goes home and you all start programming your kids into thinking they're gonna be the next, I was going to say Elon Musk, but God forbid. But anybody else on that, like with that much money in that account, I was taken very seriously as a child. So my father would tell me if there were adults speaking, very typical, like the adults are talking, or shh, or listen, or just listen, adults are talking. My mother would do quite the opposite. She'd have me sit with her friends, same table, same chair, same, and in the middle of the conversation, she'd be like, what do you think? And everybody would wait, and my mother would look me dead in the eye as if I was an adult, and I could share my opinion. And she'd say, do you have any questions you want to ask anybody here? And I didn't feel like a child. I felt very much like an adult. So in my mind, I am as equal as all these ladies in there at the time, late 30s. I'm just the same. My shoulder next to their shoulder. I was never shushed. I was never told that something was aib. Ever. Ever. On the contrary, I was encouraged to ask questions. And my questions were not always appropriate. And they were not always politically correct. But there was no judgment, no shame, and no repercussion. And no reactiveness. So till today, when I walk into a room, level 2 unlocked, Wafa is as equal to any other adult. Now, let me tell you how that helps you in business. When you meet a minister, you fist bump. And they remember you. What kind of Bahraini girl fist bumps a minister? Me. Okay? Now, you can say that, and by the way, it doesn't always work. Sometimes I get a call like that was, what were you even? Like, that's not the protocol. Sorry. But did they remember me? Yes. Am I going to get a call back? Yes. Am I going to get a project? Possibly. So when you walk into a room and hal protocol kili inshal, the bureaucracy is removed, and I feel my parents, or at least my mother, was my equal, and her friends are my equal, when I walk into a room, I don't feel there is much of a difference between me and the CEO of a financial institute. So I glitz in and I operate as if we are the same. But 90% of everybody in that room is terrified of breaking protocol. They do not take risks when they communicate. So they're completely forgettable because we're all following the same thing. Now, no, that gave me grit, and I have a whole section about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, later on I realized my father did give me some gifts. I'll talk about them later. But I think, obviously, like in this storyline, they both were a gift, right? Like, I always say I can be disciplined. 100%. So I think with your kids, are putting them in the seat with your friends, asking them in the middle of the conversation, what do you think of what we're talking about? Do you have an opinion? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you, that's a very valid point. Not correcting, not shushing, not saying, adults are here, and you're all the way down here. But actually, you're shoulder to shoulder. And as an entrepreneur, when you are in your early teens, are you giving them that confidence to walk in and say, ooh, that's that footballer that I like, or that's that artist? Go up and say hi. They're not even going to wait for you for permission. They're going to go and say, hi, my name is Wafa, which is what I did in Zara when I saw one of the ministers in Bahrain, the first ones. And obviously, as you can tell, I built a whole business around women. I was like, Mama, the Minister of Health at the time. And I ran, Your Excellency, Dr. Nada, huge fan. I was 16. But shoulder to shoulder, ما في فرق. Like I can talk to anybody I want, and I can, and that would be amazing for anybody who wants to close leads and starts investments opportunities, or to even ask and deal with rejection later on. Now, we talked about shaming. I mean, I'm guilty of shaming still. I mean, again, I'm but a watered version of my mother, but I was never shamed with anything growing up. Yani, I was always taught to do what I feel sits right with me. And then later on, we could have a conversation. I think somebody earlier on today said, don't react, but actually have a conversation about how did that make you feel? Let's talk about that. Do you think that we could have done better in a specific situation? But shaming was never a part of my language or growing up. Now, that's really important as a girl, because for those of you who have girls and you want them to be entrepreneurs, it's really, really hard when you're growing up and you're told, Abe, like your dress is too short, you can't date, you can't do this, and then how are you going to create entrepreneurs? When the time comes, they're going to be terrified to take a risk, they're going to be terrified to make a mistake, they're going to be terrified to deal with rejection. So as somebody who hires 95% women, my biggest challenge is, how do I make them bold in the workplace? They're terrified, they're perfectionists, they want to get everything right. They're so hard on themselves. So at a young age, I think encouraging them to make mistakes and to remove the idea of shame is very important, right? So everybody was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was asked, what kind of impact do you want to have? What do you want to build? And there's a famous quote that says, we spend the first half of our lives trying to find our purpose and the second half of our lives living it. That's so late. Why are we not asking those questions very early on, right? So I was asked as a teenager, what do you want to build? So quite early on, I developed my own personal mission statement. At 17, when my friends were playing and enjoying and going to the mall, I was crafting my personal mission statement. But that's the kind of stuff that gets you to figure out what you want to do early on, and then you can build according to that. So if you feel you're not the right person to be working with your kids on what they're... I really do believe everybody here has one super amazing purpose. And maybe that purpose changes, but at that specific time, there's that one purpose. And sometimes you might need to work with a coach to develop what that is. But unlocking it is like a frequency of a radio. And for those who don't know what a radio is, everyone has that purpose or that voice, but it's working with somebody to like get that frequency, right? And then it unlocks and you can build your whole career around it. So figuring out what those prompts are early on and asking your kids, what are you excited about? What do you do that is so exciting that you feel the time is passing by? And then let's go aggressively into that space. And then he or she could change their mind and say, I changed my mind, I'm into this, let's go in that direction. But I think those questions are so essential instead of where do you want to work and let's be realistic, etc. And I'm going to talk a bit about that later, especially when it comes to AI and how that impacts us. Now, my mother loved to say yes. I really just don't recall her saying no, ever. It was all like, yes, let's do it, yes. And like, I wish it was like a yes. It was like, yes, right? So like, what are you interested in doing? Mama, I want to go here. I want to do this art class. Yes, let's go. I've never seen someone more excited about my itinerary growing up. And till today, I get very excited about building my own itinerary. And again, remove the parents from the equation, the broken record is there. I'm excited to build and follow what I'm excited about. And if I'm curious, I'll sign up and I'll show up and I'll try and experiment. And those things eventually lead to incredible things in my organization. But as a parent, I think learning to say more yeses than nos, especially when it comes to things your kids enjoy, is super cool, even if it's really wacky and you know, might not make sense, without judging. And on the contrary, my dad was the king of no. And I think, again, it was interesting just to, obviously I always knew to go to my mom to ask for anything. Not that I even had to ask. I just feel like she would always be very excited to do different things. But I'll tell you what else. It's not just even saying yes. She comes with me. Like, I want to dive. Let's go. You're scared of the water. I don't care. I'll figure it out. So I had a comrade. I had a partner, almost like a co-founder, I would say, growing up. So she came to all my art classes with me. And not just drop me, I'll pick you up in an hour. Like, she's with me next to me. We're building, we're drawing, we're painting. Mom, I want to do this class, you know, in London. Okay, let's go. I'll leave work for a week. We'll go together. We'll do it. So this yes came with somebody saying, Mom, I want to go to Wadi Shab and walk in Amman, like for 3 hours and see the waterfall. Let's go. Now, she had bad knees. So I have the funniest pictures of her, just like in the wrong outfit. But she came 4 hours walking, didn't complain once. Co-founder, partner, whatever you want to call it, I felt she was probably the first investor in my dreams. So how excited do you get about the things your kids are excited about? How much do you back them? Like, I'm with you. And again, today, as I was going to say a young adult again, but as an older adult, remove the parent from the equation, I'm still doing those experiences myself as an entrepreneur. Actually, I'm bringing my own employees with me. Let's go on an adventure, because I know that that can impact the business in a very exciting way. It also unlocks curiosity when you kind of expose yourself. So having a yes attitude. So let's pull this back into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's kind of crazy. Anyone who starts a business is insane, right? So much harder. But the agility of like, yeah, let's try this. Let's experiment with this. So the word yes is further connected into experimentation. You're not set in your own ways. But this is my business model. It's like, let's try this. Yeah, let's have a go at this. It's just being open to new opportunities and attitudes. So I'm more of a yes person in my organization. I say more yeses than nos. And that's what keeps our organizations moving forward. Curiosity. So let's chase curiosity and unlock entrepreneur potential. I think ChatGPT did a good job of the presentation. Don't you guys think? Who are these kids? But they're very cute. Chasing curiosity is very, very important. So let me tell you how I valued learning and curiosity. So when we went into a supermarket, I could buy one piece of chocolate. Who has this rule now with their kids? Put your hands up. Whoa. Old as gold. When we went to a toy store, we could buy one thing, choose one thing, right? Put your hands up, anybody who does. Okay. When we went to a bookstore, it was unlimited. For a child, it was like candy. Like, whatever you want to buy, whatever you want to buy. And I'm talking about some Tate Modern bookshop stuff, right? Whatever you want to buy. So, بالكارت طبعاً. It would go up to like much more than what the candy was worth. Now, again, starting at the age of 9, 10, having open sprees in bookshops, as a young person, what that communicated to me is that there's more value for learning than there is anything else. There's nothing open budget in my house. This is the only thing that was open budget. So I learned today, fortunately and unfortunately for my husband, when we travel, I come back with like there's Amazon, there's Kindle, I'm like still with a suitcase of books because it's unlimited. Now, I'm not showing off, but maybe I am a little bit. I read about 200 books a year, okay? So like I do speed 2 on Audible, so I can consume double. But I have to. I really have no choice. I feel like I have to have 3 steps in the future as an entrepreneur. If you're not consuming, not that much content, but if you're not constantly learning, how are you going to be agile? How are you going to be an expert at 20 at anything if you're not consuming 6 books on building a community, 4 books on VCs and how to fundraise? And then how do you master anything if you're not able to consume on volume? Now, I don't want anyone to force their kids to read 200 books a year. I just think the currency here is there is a reward to learning, which is open budget you can play versus anything else. So as a hyper learner, I was able to not just walk shoulder to shoulder with somebody, but I could engage in any conversation because I had read something about read about something somewhere. Obviously now there's masterclass content, there is podcasts, but the idea is, in my brain, the broken record is, the more you learn, the budget is open. So even when I travel with my friends, you guys do the shopping, and I'll go find some bookstores and I'll see you later. So I'm on my own path into prioritizing that wherever I go as an entrepreneur. Now, why is that important? There is a 10,000 hour rule. If you want to create the next wave of young Arab entrepreneurs, all your kids have to do is do something for 10,000 hours, the one thing, and become really good at it. Okay, we're done here. Are we good? 10,000 hours? So what does that mean? That means that you are early on working and cultivating mastery with your kids. So when they're 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 and they're excited about something, you're clocking in the hours. Okay, you like football? 3 times a week. I'll get you a coach. Let's listen to these books. Let's go see this stadium in Barcelona. It's ranking in the hours so they become masters at something. So by the time they graduate, they've already become experts. So that's what, this is not, I wish I came up with this. This is Malcolm Gladwell. It's a 10,000 hour rule. And there's reasons why geniuses like Bill Gates become so incredible at what they do, because they're coding for 10,000 hours by the time they're in the 12th grade. So they've already become experts that young. So investing in what your kids are excited about early on and ranking up those hours gets them to have a further advantage in the organization that they want to build. Now, my mother didn't come from a business background. She was an employee in an organization. My father was the same. So I was the outlier in my family because, again, most entrepreneurs, when I graduated, came from a family business. Even now, very few self-made entrepreneurs that were able to scale into a multi-million-dollar firm. So for me, I was able to scale with zero in my account. So that's, I'm talking like no loan, no grant. How do you go from zero in your account, where your father's like, get a job, no thank you, okay, you're on your own, sure, to scaling that into a multi-million-dollar firm in 2 organizations? It's the role of mentorship and collaboration. So my mother couldn't advise me on entrepreneurship, but she could organize opportunities where I was exposed to other entrepreneurs. Now, this is not the best example, but I saw her once pick up the phone when I was excited about building a business at 16 to not even like a friend, like my classmate's mother, to say, I know that you run a family business. Can you sit with Wafa? She has questions about fashion marketing and how to scale an organization. So I got my meeting, but I mean, it was a complete disaster because I was told off for asking too many questions and aib and like this is family secrets and God forbid. But I was asking questions like, how much is your ARR per year? But the beauty of that story is I saw my mother pick up the phone and ask for a meeting. So I thought this was interesting. I didn't know you could make a request and ask for a coffee or a meeting. I didn't have the skill sets to do it at the time. But as the incredible mothers that you are, and you want to set your kids up for entrepreneurship, and you want to do it by design, the question is, I'm not an expert at gaming, but my son is excited about gaming. I want him to be a creator in gaming. Who do I know where I can get him exposed to that at 14, 15, 16? Can you walk around and shadow a CEO for a day? It's giving your kids that kind of access where they're exposed. Because growing up, obviously this is pre-social media, unfortunately, everyone I looked around, like was surrounded by, was complaining about their jobs. Everybody hated their jobs. Oh, I hated Sunday going back to work. Like, this was my role modeling. Everyone was miserable in their corporate world. I never heard the words, I'm so excited to go to work on Sunday. So how do we want our kids to be excited about working for themselves or building an organization when they're not exposed to passionate, exciting opportunities or people or role modeling? So as a parent, how are you going to hook up your kid to have exposure? Now, by the way, bad exposure is also good, because my father got me internships and I walked into those places and I was like, I'm absolutely never coming to a place like this ever again. So sometimes knowing what you don't want is also a gift. Or like, I will never ever work in a bank, or I never ever will work in an interior design company. Like, it's not for me. I'm not going to work. So knowing what you don't want eliminates a lot of opportunities. So earlier on, who are you picking up the phone with and teaching your kids that if you want something, you're not sending your CV to the company email. You're picking up the phone and you're having a conversation. And can you cold call? And can you put yourself out there and ask for an opportunity and maybe get rejected, like my bad experience? But just seeing her do that for me, I can now pick up the phone and call anyone and ask for a meeting. What's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? So if you are not the mentor for your kids to expose them to entrepreneurship, who can you call to get them a lunch, a coffee? Can you join? Can you be there to support them as well, if need be? Or do you want to give them the space to do it? And when they're done, are you excited? How was it? I hated it. Miserable. The guy's weird. Weird. Why? Okay. Now, which brings me to my favorite one. Where is this? No. Oh, the best one is not here. Failure. So, what kind of parent gets excited when their kids fail? Yeah, we have some. Three. Okay, but can I tell you how excited? Like, are you this excited? Yes, you failed. Do you do that? So I failed a lot. I started 2 companies at 17 and 18. My mom gave me some money to play with. When I say play, as in to start and see how I felt. So she was, again, my first investor, not just in my dreams, but also financial investor. But I failed twice. But she was the most excited I've ever seen her. Who the hell gets excited for failure? Like, it's actually still quite shocking to me. But she'd ask me a follow-up question, but what did you learn? So I learned to love to fail. Now, let me tell you why that's interesting for the space that I'm in. I'm building a technology business. I fundraise. So I go to VCs and family offices and I ask for money to invest in a technology idea. 2% of VC funding goes to women. So me and my husband are in the same space and we both fundraise for different tech companies. My husband meets 10 investors a month and like every man in the world like complains about it. Like, oh my God, my life is so hard. I meet 100. But I get rejected 98% more time than he does. So who wants to get rejected for an idea that they love 98 out of 100 a month? Nobody. That's horrible. No, thank you. It's niche. Woman is a niche product. I don't do gender. This is impact investing. You should open a charity. This is not this is not going to scale. Over and over and over and over again. Now, because I love to fail, I am energized. I'm like, I didn't lose. I made a connection. I built a relationship. And I know the person is saying no, but all I hear is a not yet. Maybe not today, but maybe in a year. And sometimes I have to meet their wives because they want their wives to work. And they're like, meet my wife and get her to work. And it's like, shdakhal, but I do take the meeting with the wife. Because I say yes. I'm like, sure, I'll take the meeting with the wife. Maybe the wife will invest. I don't know. But the point is, I wouldn't be able to scale in technology if it wasn't for the excitement to fail and learn. So by the way, every time I pitch and I lose or I don't get an opportunity to raise money, I go back and I fix my deck. And I strengthen my pitching. And I do something really magical that not a lot of entrepreneurs do unless they're much late in the game. I can pitch without my deck. So I can have a conversation and possibly I can close a good $50,000 check at the end of it. That's just because I do things on volume. So there's always a gift in there somewhere. Now, why is this important? Technology obviously is here to stay. But if any of your girls are going to get into technology and scale their companies, it's a boys' club. It's boys investing in boys. So if a woman comes up with a Mum's World or comes up with a period app or comes up with a Fenty Beauty or comes up with a Mojo social media app, she's going to probably get rejected because men are like, I like you, but I don't get the idea, I'm out. And that's fine because if a boy a startup by a guy, if he came to me and he's like, I'm going to fix balding with my new technology, like, thank you, but that's not a problem that I have empathy for, so I'm out as an investor. Like, I don't care about balding. What's the big deal? You just don't have hair. I don't get it. But another guy might be like, oh my God, real problem. I'm coming all in, right? So women disappear at the Series A level. insane. Like they might raise a pre-seed round, which is the average is 500,000. They might get a seed round, which is 1.5 to 3 million, and then they disappear at Series A. They either don't scale, or they just stop fundraising, or they can't get big enough ticket sizes. So predominantly, most of the technology we use is run by men. So if you are a woman excited about the space, it's very tough. Like, I don't need to deal with this. I'll just get a job. I'll get my salary. This is too hard. So learning to love to fail is very exciting, because as you deal with rejection, as you scale an organization, it energizes you, and it's like, yeah, I failed. What did I learn? Okay, this is not my type of investor. So now I have a criteria. My investor is a man who really cares about gender diversity and inclusion. He really prioritizes his daughter and his wife. Usually they work with him, or he's trying to groom his girls and his family for a high leadership position. He usually has a strong mother. So sometimes I start off like, tell me about the biggest female role model in your life. So I'll know immediately in the conversation if this is the right investor for me. The role of opportunity and environment. So something that I think was really incredible was, I have two brothers. Best in my household, there was no difference between girls or boys. We had the same curfew. We had the same rules. We could wear the same clothes. We played the same sports. So I never felt there was a difference between any gender. Now, why is it helpful in business? Predominantly, it is extremely male-dominated, especially if you are working with decision makers and check signers. So the idea is, as a girl, are you nervous? Are you scared? Are you holding back? Or even as a boy, really, are you able to kind of navigate that space? So I think having creating an environment where they can ask questions, where they can fail, where they feel like they're equal to everybody in the household is really key, and they don't get any special treatment, I think really helps them navigate or work in a not like a stressful environment, but an environment that is volatile and constantly changing. Now, this masterclass, or sorry, not this masterclass, this session is, oh, these are my kids, but this is not AI. That's Zayed, he's 1.5, and that's Saif, he's 4.5, and I'm gonna keep them, they're very cute. The session today is very long, like financial literacy and AI and entrepreneurship, so I'm doing my best here. But I want to talk about financial literacy as a tool for success, because I've had to do a lot of work on my relationship with money. I actually worked with a money therapist because I was like, I am traumatized by money. And I don't know if any of you have heard of the Hoffman Institute, but the Hoffman Institute says that everything we get is from our parents, like all our habits. It's either you copy them or you're the complete opposite. So on the one hand, I had my father who was always kind of working out the balance sheets of the household. And did anybody's dad do this? And like, this is how much the groceries cost, and this is how much your education costs, and just like repeating these numbers, which were always in the hundreds, okay? Yani, they never like, your education is this much, and this is how much we're paying per week, and this is how much our budget is. And I don't know if that was his like love language, but it was just like a repetitive. I grew up with a repetitive thinking of numbers in إحنا بالبحريني dinar, يعني without the zero, not in Emirat, so remove the zero. So it's even smaller, like 10 BD, 100 BD, 500 BD, 1000 BD. And then on the other hand, you have my mother who's like spender, obviously with my dreams and the books and everything, but like she's like, like let's just have fun. So she'd just be like, yani, the money will come, you know, like she had that attitude, and she just loved to spend, and she just felt like, I'm taken care of, God has my back, let's go and just buy whatever we want, you know. Both of these terrified me, by the way, like one who was like counting and one who was like cha cha, like that was the sound I remember with the, so by the way, when I go to a mall, I still get a bit traumatized, like this is too much for me. But as a business owner, I used to get anxiety when I used to sign checks for bills. Like the electricity bill came in, I'm like, I don't want to pay this. And then the cleaning bill, the internet, whatever the bills came, and I've always been taught by the mentors that I had that you sign every check as an entrepreneur so you understand where your money is going and don't ever give that to somebody else, right? So I would get anxiety. So I actually went to a therapist, and I'm like, why am I getting anxiety when I pay my expenses? And she said, okay, who in your household was talking about numbers, like in this range? And I'm like, my father. She's like, okay, so like we need to go from a scarcity mentality to abundance. And she's like, you're basically يعني زبط الموضوع, like all therapists, like you're the obstacle to your own, manifestation and stuff. So I think what she was trying to say is even how you think of numbers is too small. Like your contract size is what's the average, which was almost the same as the numbers my father used to say. So she got, we worked on a lot of healing to heal myself from that trauma and learning how to feel safe, but also thinking of numbers as bigger. Like I'm not around people who are like bankrolling and they bought an island for God knows how long, or they want a contract for millions of dollars. That's not the numbers I grew up with, right? So I had a very narrow perspective of money, and that it wasn't coming in abundance, and it's reflected in my business. So I think really looking at what are we teaching our kids about money, what are the numbers that we're sharing in the household. And I understand teaching our children the value of something and how much this costs, and like money doesn't come from trees and whatever, and all that stuff that we have to teach them about responsibility. But how are we also expanding their minds into thinking what they can achieve with money? And this is the beautiful part, as a tool to help them reach their goals. So I know my mom شخبطت في الcard, but she did make me love money, actually. I was scared of spending it, but I knew it was a good thing. Like it was a tool that can help me get closer to my dreams. And that's, we go back to the learning, right? That unlimited budget for books, and also like, what experiences do you want to do? Like, I'll back you, like I'll come with you. So I think with money, I learned to have a relationship with it, that if I wanted to get somewhere, the more I had, the more I could get to where I need to go. So I think everyone, I'm sure, are teaching their children different things about money, or maybe they're too young to even have those conversations. But if you want to set them up to run organizations that are generating millions of dollars, so they can look after themselves, so they can have financial security, so they can maybe take you guys to Capri on business class trips, and they become an ROI to your investment. So whatever you want them to, in whatever bracket you want them to operate in, get them exposed to those kind of opportunities and numbers, and value, but in a way that makes them excited about it. It's not something bad or greedy. It's something that could help you achieve or build other organizations, or become an investor, or do philanthropy work. So let's not shame them on money and what it can do. And that can be hard if you yourself are not an entrepreneur exposed to these numbers, right? So, or they can do what I did and go to a money coach and pay a lot of money to heal. But I'm saying early on, these are things that you can be mindful of. Something my parents never did is they never taught me to invest. So again, investment is very much a boys' club. We are usually left out of the equation because most women are actually, 38% of women globally are unbanked. So we're left out of the equation generally. And relationship managers don't target me. They target my husband because maybe I have some money to invest, but he has maybe 10x what I have. It's easier to get the guy than to get the wife or the mom or whatever. So even teaching your kids about investment, going to open an account in the Borsa with them, opening up a stock account and maybe giving them $1,000 to trade or $100 to trade. Or if you don't want to be that, risk taking, there are simulations where they can pick what stocks, like what company would you want to invest in? Or I really like Apple, or really, okay, exciting. Okay, how much are they trading for? But exposing them to different types of investment opportunities also gets them excited about money and how they can invest it and have it work for them so they can have compounded interest, right? So if you're not exposed to these kind of worlds, it can be very fun if you go together and you open your accounts together and you can explore things together. So how are you teaching your kid, what are you teaching your children about investing, and just exposing them to different opportunities as well? Make it a treat. So yeah, like going together to be like, we're going to go open our bank accounts today, and then I'm going to put some money in your account, and then maybe you can invest. Like most banks now have investing opportunities in them, so they can open their hasala and they can put money in their hasala and they can add their interest, but like really making it a treat. Like, let's go together and open our accounts, and then let's go get ice cream. So it's connected to fun experiences with mom or dad versus something that's maybe dull or boring or uninteresting. Now I'm going to wrap up with this. How are we with time? We're good. 15? Okay. 50? Okay, sorry. God, it's been a long day, guys. Sorry. I was going to say 50. I've been here for so long. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with AI. So AI is... So who here is dabbling with AI? Put your hands up. Okay. So I'm guessing it's all ChatGPT, yes? Hi, my name's Afan. I use ChatGPT. Okay. So AI is very exciting. And what are we doing to prepare our kids for this world of AI, and how can this help them in entrepreneurship? So again, I'm not going to take credit for the story. I attended South by Southwest in Austin, which is super exciting. And they usually have, so South by Southwest is a huge design and tech conference that happens in Austin, Texas. The whole city turns into this space where there's like concerts, but you can also learn. It's very cool. And they had 3 days of sessions on EDU, on education, before South by Southwest. So I attended a session where someone from Google basically said how he's preparing his kid for AI is he spends his weekends with his 4-year-old. So I have a 4-year-old son. I was like, perfect. And he plays around with AI with them, and they get to create things together. So he's like, we spend a couple of hours where we're sitting there prompting, and we're creating and building solutions as a 4, and I think he has a 7-year-old, and they were just creating stuff on there. So I was like, how am I? So the prompts were, how are we preparing our kids for this incredible tool that's gonna, we still don't know the impacts of how this is gonna be changing jobs in the future, right? And I'll give you a quick example, but just like really like, yani bring it closer to home. So I have a friend who has a fashion brand, and every quarter she puts $10,000 aside to shoot her lookbook for her abayas. And she used to pay the photographer, the stylist, the hair and makeup, the models, and the set, and the food and catering, right? So that was her budget. So that's $40,000 a year spent on paying experts at what they do for their catalog. This month, she paid $20 to use AI to generate her lookbook, and dare I say, they look better than the real women on her catalogs. So no hair, makeup, no stylist, no photographer, no, like gone, goodbye. I just used AI. It was a lot of prompting. I had to buy one plugin, but then she created her whole lookbook, which looks amazing. If you want to find me later and look at it, but the hands are weird of the models. But no one looks at the hands. It was like the abayas are nice and the faces are nice. Anyways, my point is we don't know. This thing is going really fast. It's changing how we do things. And sometimes, so for fun, I like to play around with ChatGPT and what I can do with it. So I have 2 lawyers on as a retainer in both organizations. I've used ChatGPT to create a legal agreement, and I would send it to my lawyer to be like, I got this sent from my other lawyer. Do you have any feedback or notes? Looks perfect. So it's fascinating to me. Feasibility studies, like, I mean, copywriters, like, it's incredible. But our kids are young. But how are we introducing them to these tools in a positive way, in an exciting way? So just like the EDU guy, okay, because again, FOMO, competition, I have to win. I want to give my kids all the advantage in the world to just understand some of this technology. On the weekend, what me and my son do is we create books. So let me tell you how we do it. I open up ChatGPT, because you can voice note ChatGPT on your phone. And I'm like, Safe, tell me a story. So he'll come up with a character, like a dinosaur called Stacy, and Stacy goes and sees her other friends. So he'll talk, and then I'll be like, okay, ChatGPT, make this like a Dr. Seuss story, make it rhyme. So in seconds, Safe's story is now written like Dr. Seuss, and it rhymes. And then I'm like, tell ChatGPT to create the photos, like the images. So he's like, turn this into a photo. And then we see his ideas turn into images. Like within minutes, it comes out, and it's a story. And then I'll be like, do you like it? Do you want to change anything in it? He's like, make the dinosaur bigger. Make the dinosaur bigger. And we're creating content. So what I do then is I put everything in a layout, I print it out, I staple it, and I'm like, you're a published author. No copywriter, no designer, no creative director. And I'm like, we just created a book. So now every weekend he's like, can we create books? And there's this incredible tool that's taking what's in my son's brain and making it into a reality in minutes. I don't have to outsource anything. But I'm watching him become a director and a killer prompter. So a lot of people are scared from these tools, obviously. So he's obviously not allowed to use any of these things unless I'm there. But my son is learning how to create. So instead of consuming content, he's creating stories, he's creating poems. He wants to always talk to ChatGPT to build things. He has questions. So I'm encouraging him to use it to expand his thinking and to build his ideas and his plans. So now you can do the same with Midjourney. Midjourney is animation. So you can be like, create a little movie. So maybe you're, we don't necessarily have to wait for them to get older to start building and creating. And that's what entrepreneurship is. You're building something. They are building using the tools that exist today. So, and if you're an early adopter as a mother, which is very exciting. So a lot of people are early adopters. When something new comes up, they're the first to sign up and they're the first to play around with it. If not, that's also okay. So then it's easier to pass on those skills to your kids, to be like, I'm an early adopter, and your kids will become early adopters. How will that help them when we get old and pruny? They're still experimenting with new technology and they're not waiting for their organization or school to teach them something. They're already ahead of the game. They've launched, they're playing around, they've started an account, and they're curious by nature. So again, remove the parents, the broken record is still there and they're still experimenting. Now, I think what's exciting is when you are not an early adopter, what an opportunity it is for you to learn with your kids. To say, listen, I have no idea what Midjourney is. Some woman from Bahrain mentioned it today. But let's sit and open an account and see if we can create a little film. There, your son can be a director. Like, create a movie where the dinosaur, burns down the houses and the villages. And okay, that's a scary kid, but you know what I mean. Like, and then the animation gets created, but he's now creating animated films, right? Directed by your kid's name, and like show it to them. That's the kind of. So it's like I'm a director at age 5, 6, 15. So you can also take this opportunity to learn and build alongside with them. So how I'm using AI now is I set some time aside to play with new tech with my kids, because as the world is changing really quickly, we talked about potentially a lot of the job market changing because of this tool and how fast it's learning. But we can't wait for our educational system and our schools to be like, when you're at 7th grade, we're going to start like, no, my kids, like, I can prompt, I can build, I can make at this age. And we never had access to these tools. They do. So they can be creators at a young age. And I want to wrap up with one more thing, which is, this is a bit controversial. I don't even put pictures of my kids online because al-ain, of course, or al-hasad. Though I'm like, how does like Princess Kate put pictures of her kids? Like, why aren't people around the world scared of al-ain? Like, why are we the only ones scared of al-ain? However, even building a brand for your kids is also an interesting concept. So whether you agree or not, a lot of people graduate and are already influencers. And I'm talking like impact influencers, or actually like they review books, and by the time they want to be entrepreneurs and they have a community around them, it's easier to sell a product to them. So I've seen people who are writers have a huge book community. So by the time they launch, because they've been reviewing books for years and they're young, and then once they actually create a book, their first 1,000 sales comes from their community. So I know that someone mentioned today, like, I don't want to create a footprint for my kids online without their permission, and I understand that. And as somebody who doesn't even put pictures of her kids anywhere, another interesting thought process is, what can I do as a parent to, because their brand exists whether we like it or not in this day and age, and they do exist digitally, right? But how can I also give them the tools to build a community around the things they love, so when they're ready to launch their first product, they have 100 customers or 1 million customers that are ready to buy their product, right? So how can we build community around them using the tools that we have? So that's also a positive way of looking at social and seeing how that could support your kids should they go down the entrepreneurship path. And on that note, I know I whizzed through Playbook early on, and usually I can talk a bit about it a lot more, but Playbook is like the coolest women's network in the region. Yeah, there are some members here. Arshi's here, Donna's here. There are 7,000 members on our app, 15% are C-level. The idea is how moms are and how we hook each other up as moms in WhatsApp groups. This is the same, but in business. So everybody's like, I'm looking for a co-founder. There's coaches on there and master classes as well. I'm giving everybody here freemium access. It costs $350. You're welcome. So please download the app and use it. There are amazing content, master classes there on motherhood and money and investing. So I highly recommend you all utilize it. And I'd love to answer any questions, best portion of the day. Yes, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Your brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
And presenter, mashallah alayk. inspired with the way that you talked about your mom played such an intentional role in designing what is Wafa today in the role of entrepreneur and in the role of mother. And you sound like you're an awesome mother. MashaAllah. My question to you is, especially now, especially going through what you went through with building your companies, I'm sure you went through, like many of us, some form or variation of burnout. And I feel like as unbelievably inspiring as everything you talked about today with your child, is this something that you are keeping in mind with this, you talk about learning in a way where it feels so beautiful and intentional, but it's very intense as well.
Yeah.
And we're starting at a much younger age where the pressure doesn't need to exist. So my question to you is, how are you thinking about kind of mental health and not necessarily instilling that hustle mentality in a child?
So thank you for that. I'm not sure I'm going to answer this in the correct way. I can only share my experience, like what is my relationship with burnout. So I'm a millennial and I come from a generation that burnout, like I don't know how to build the things that I want to build without burning out. Okay? I wish there was a way that I could maintain my well-being and also be a builder and have this incredible responsibility of working with my 100 plus employees and team members around the world and managing 41 investors and taking care of my family without burning out. So I burn out regularly, like a good once a quarter or once every 6 months, but I'm okay with burning out, and I have a playbook on how to recover from burnout. So I'm not new to it. I've been burning out since I was 18, and I only know how to sprint and then pause, and then sprint, and then pause. But I plan it, so I'm like, okay, this quarter is going to be crazy, but I'll take a week off, and I will switch off, and I will, and I know also how to surrender, to let go. And there are things that I do to recover my system. I also do like daily, like I check in with myself. So I have coaches and mentors I work with. I have 3 that I pay to make sure that I'm blocked in certain areas. I don't always see them, but they're available to me when I need them. I meditate daily, 3 minutes a day to 10 minutes a day. I journal 3 pages a day. So I have an hour to myself where I know it sounds like it's a lot, but it's all compressed in an hour, and I work out, so I move, you know what I mean? But I'm comfortable burning out. I'm not scared of burnout. I'm not terrified of it. It's okay. For me personally to burn out, and that's my relationship with burning out. But I'm so happy doing what I love. I'm so energized. Maybe if I wasn't feeling and working on my purpose and meeting incredible people every day, maybe I would, maybe my recovery would be a lot longer, and maybe I would pivot into a different role. But I'm so I'm living it. I'm living what I should think I should be doing, right? So then I feel really good in my own skin. So even when I burn out, I'm like, I can't wait to go back. Again, it's not like a traumatizing experience. So I think that's, but I have yet to meet an entrepreneur that is trying to hit 30% growth month on month without them burning out. So like it's, as long as you have a supportive network, I have a group of founders on Playbook we connect with, and also I have a great supportive system in the household. So I co-parent with my nannies. I don't do everything on my own. I, outsource and delegate and ask for help as well. So I hope that answers your question. Yes.
Okay, I'm a journalist. I'm still resisting the idea of ChatGPT, though many people around me, especially reporters, are telling me it's the best way to create reports, to create ideas, especially that I'm working on my social media page, and it's going very slowly. I'm in that failure phase, but I'm enjoying it because I'm learning, so I'm accepting the idea. But I still can't accept the idea of dealing with ChatGPT.
Okay, your question is, how do you accept it?
Exactly.
Okay, so when I was first exposed to ChatGPT, I cried. I cried for the Wafa that spent hundreds of hours building business plans, writing my own captions, writing website copy. Like, ya Allah, my time. Like, for the person who didn't go out to play and sat behind a laptop for weeks to email people and to look at my notes and do the minutes.
Me ages, many books to read to improve my writing skills.
But
for years, and now خلاص just use ChatGPT.
But if I had it, but let me tell you, like you're يعني use it to save your time. Like الحين الشغل اللي كان بيخلص في أسبوع يخلص في ساعة. Okay. By the way, I've let 6 people go from my company because they just were in denial. I'm like, I don't have time. Like you're يعني yeah. But I think you maybe like work with a therapist and like build a relationship with ChatGPT because I'm a bit
therapist.
like yeah. But I think you have a tool, it's available to you, and you can get better results, and you can put your time where you can make an impact, and you can spend more time with your family if you can just be a hacker. And by the way, women are hackers in everything. We try to do how fast can I finish this meal for my kids? How fast can I? So can take that same hacker mommy mindset, apply it to work. Don't be a perfectionist here and then a hacker there. Be a hacker across the board. You know what I mean? يعني خلصي. By the way, social media, I'm like 400 write me 400 captions for my social media page and then create corresponding LinkedIn هذه. By the way, I walk and I voice note my like I don't type anymore. Even that takes too long. I just talk. Do this, fix this. No, I had a meeting with this person. We agreed on these 3 things. And then what I do is I go walking. Okay, and then I chat GPT, like if I had 10 meetings, I'll chat GPT all my follow-up meetings. It shows up on my laptop and then I copy paste. And everyone's like, how did you send 50 emails in the last hour? So I walked and I did my work. So hack the system, be a hacker. عشان تخلصين and you can move on and you can actually do other stuff. Yeah.
I'm too ethical.
Yes. Can I challenge you on that? Oh, sorry. So can you say your question? Okay. It's a prompting is a challenge.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's not a challenge, but it doesn't mean that everyone who gives the same thing will get the same. Yani it is a robot, but at the end of the day, you have an input.
Okay. Who here has a nanny? Put your hands up. Okay. Guys, we as Arab are natural prompters. Into ya jama'a. Like I find this, we are prompting 90% of our day. We are telling our friends what to do. We are telling our support system what to do. We are telling our husbands what to do. Use the same skill in ChatGPT. So I find this interesting that, I mean, I'm looking at people in my organization. They struggle, like, I don't know what to do with the prompt. They sit and think about the prompt. I'm like, I just saw you like book a salon appointment by voice note. I need this to my hair, 4 o'clock. Talk to the same way. يعني talk to it in the same way. فأنا أعامل ChatGPT as if I am delegating to anyone else in my world. فإحنا we do this with our siblings. Do this, bring this. I'll see you on Friday at mama's house. Talk to it that way. So that's how you hack. That's how you stop overthinking. And if you can't talk, because God forbid you put the wrong prompt, just talk to it as a, how about this, change this, you know, make it sound, you're too nice, you're too rude, you're not getting it. Like, have a conversation with it. You know what I mean? That's how I would hack it. I've also used it for recipes. Like there's 5 things in the fridge. I'm like, this is what's in the fridge. What should I make for my kids? And then it gives me like recipes. And then I'm like, come up with 21 recipes. So I push it. Let's see, how far can I go? You know what I mean? لا هاي الجلت اخذيه وقطيه لأن اي بس ما عندنا وقت حق الجلت. You know what I mean? We need to achieve. You know why we need to achieve? Because we need to take some control back, honestly. Like خلاص, like I need women to like become CEOs and board members. فخلصينا من the social media عشان you can focus on the politics in your organization and scale up. You know what I mean? Yeah, sorry, the one in pink, go ahead, you had a question? Yeah. As an entrepreneur, all I wake up every day is how can I become a unicorn, which is $100 million company, as fast as possible. So the best entrepreneurs are actually the rule breakers, and they're the ones that don't take. So this lovely gentleman here today, I came to see a session. He's like, it's full. I'm like, get out of my way. I'm like, I'll stand. He's like, go ahead. What if I had walked away? Do you know what I mean? Like, I will, يعني, my whole personality, like I was being funny though, I wasn't being rude. But my point is, the best entrepreneurs are the ones that can get to the solution the fastest with the least amount of effort. So if your son is hacking tools to get things done faster, you're like, can you go faster than that? Because in life, when a new solution comes in and he's still writing, like, it's not going to work. And I think the ones that get the most tired, so maybe this is, I'm a bit on the farthest side, but hard work and grit, you learn just by mirroring the people that are your role models. Like, my parents left the house at 6 a.m., came back at 6 p.m. I learned work ethic without them saying anything. I saw them work for me. Like, that's more than enough. So he'll learn hard work if he sees his parents working for him to provide. Your lesson there is done. Now the new tools you need to teach him is, this world is changing so fast, everything that you're going to learn in uni and in school is outdated. So hack the system. And going back, and maybe I didn't mention this, my mom loves breaking rules. So also I don't like protocol, I don't like bureaucracy. I'm always like, no, I can get my way. I'll always negotiate. You know what I mean? Like, get out of my way, like, you know, very dramatically. Like, I was like, no, I'll stand, like, it's fine, I'm a speaker. You know what I mean? But like, you need a little bit of that attitude in work, because when you have nothing, you have your energy and your attitude. You know what I mean? So blacks embrace it. Be like, get there faster. By the way, ethically and without like not illegally, but like, don't break. Like fastest. Go fast and break things. Yeah. So if he's like, Mom, I can do this faster, do it faster. Well done. Afi alik, good job. Because then he's going to take that and apply it all his life. You know what I mean? He's not going to overcomplicate or take the hard way to do something. You see what I mean? That's my mindset, you know? My son is 4 and I'm like, go faster. He's like, faster than this. Yeah, because the world's going to change so fast, he needs to be ready. Yeah. And Brown? Sorry, one more. Last one. Let's go. Yeah, totally. Yeah. By the way, I also want to add that I married my father, as in my husband is exactly like my dad. So I'm like, what have I not healed? Like, I'm going through the same trauma again, but I think my husband is my gift to accept and to heal. And he's also like my dad in the house, but I'll tell you the difference. My mom used to react to my dad. I'm like, he's going to turn out fine because he'll have black and white, light and dark, so the grit will be fine. So it's completely okay as long as we, emotionally regulate in the household. But just, yeah, sorry, you can continue your question. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of the skills I covered, I never needed to use my husband. Actually, my husband's like, can you teach me how to do cold leads? Because he only knows his business network, and I can email someone in the US and convince her to invest in me in 15 minutes on LinkedIn, right? Because of how much I had to fundraise. Like, I'm like, I need to be creative about this, you know? But to answer your question, I think that your question was about fundraising, right? How did you fundraise? So a lot of those soft skills is what helped me. One, I felt anyone can take me seriously because I was taken seriously. Two, I believed in myself so much that they believed in me. So I literally would talk and I'm like, I'm building this. Or I was like, bisir. Until you're with me as a business opportunity, you're without me, I'm building it. I would never ask for money. I'm like, this is a business opportunity. Do you want to join or not? We're going to make it to the finish line. So I think the skill sets that I mentioned that my mom trained me on and programmed me on is what helped me later on deal with fundraising. Yeah, I hope that helps. All right. Yes. Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Thank you, everybody.